So the national championship game is set, and unfortunately, my hate watching continues because somehow, some way, Miami is still in it. And I'm definitely going to start with their game first because I'm about to go on a bit of an uncharacteristic rant. But before I do, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe so I can keep my sanity. So, as I've talked about before on this channel, I'm a major Miami hater. If you haven't been able to figure that out by now, you definitely haven't been watching this channel. So watching them win week in after week out, it's just making me pull my hair out because the public perception of them continues to get better with every single win. And before I rant, I do have to say that they are elite at the line of scrimmage. That's really the only thing keeping them alive in the playoffs right now. Well, that and Malachi Toney. They are so lucky that they drew Ole Miss in this game and not Georgia because Ole Miss was clearly a mismatch there, which is something I was concerned about going in. It was kind of a miracle that Ole Miss was even in this game because it felt like Miami was dominating all night at the line of scrimmage. And also because Ole Miss was unable to tackle anybody. It was actually terrible how bad Ole Miss was at tackling the ball carrier. But bro, I swear on my non-existent Tims that if Miami played Georgia instead of Ole Miss, they would have got the work, dude. And we lost fair and square to Ole Miss. I know that. But as far as matchups go, I think we match up far better against Miami than Ole Miss did. So in a way, I feel like Georgia is at fault for Miami getting to play in the national championship game, which just drives me insane. I'm sitting back here watching Miami with an offense that's led by a terrible Carson Beck quarterback. He's not terrible, but very inconsistent quarterback in Carson Beck. And honestly, the offense as a whole looks pretty much like major cheeks outside of Malachi Toney. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Miami has like one player, like I said, that's carrying the whole team, Malachi Toney, and he's a dog. But outside of him, Miami is just so unbalanced. Carson Beck cannot throw the ball more than 5 yards in front of his face without throwing an interception. And before y'all tell me that Carson Beck and Chambliss had similar stats, please go watch the game. One quarterback got his stats from real passes, and the other just screen passes away to victory because Ole Miss could not tackle anyone, like I mentioned earlier. It took a village to bring any other players down. Seriously, from a physicality standpoint, it looked like Miami was playing against a D2 team or even a high school team at that, and they were still pretty limited when it came to actually scoring most of the game somehow. So yeah, Carson Beck was super mediocre. Mario Cristobal almost choked the game yet again, and Miami is just getting so much glaze. And from an accomplishment standpoint, they unfortunately do deserve it. They are playing in the biggest game of the year, so it's hard to say they don't deserve to be talked about like this, but it's just really frustrating to see because as a team, I don't think they're as good as they look. But I just have a sneaking suspicion that when they play Indiana, who actually is good at the line of scrimmage, I think they're going to get cooked because that's really all they have going for them. And don't even get me started on how dirty Miami is playing. That's part of why I hate them so much. They just can't play a clean game to save their lives. Sometimes they got caught and penalized, and other times they got away with it. I really think that the last play of the game was obvious PI, but, it's whatever. It's a Hail Mary, and refs never really call PI on Hail Marys, unfortunately. So here's the deal. Miami probably should not be playing for a national championship game. They are not a national championship caliber team. They caught A&M on a downward trend, a very overrated Ohio State team, and an Ole Miss team that just matched up way worse against them. I know that I seem delusional. I probably am, but I think the Canes are frauds. They are, in my opinion, the Broncos of college football, which also tells you that I think the Broncos are also pretty mid as well. Anyways, they should not be where they're at right now. And it makes me sick that they are even able to step foot in the national title game, which is at home for them, which really sucks. They honestly they don't really deserve it, I don't think. They lost 2 games to SMU and Louisville and played a cupcake ACC schedule. And yet, they, for some reason, deserve a playoff spot because of how broken the system is in college football. I knew once the playoff expanded to 12, we were not helping that small Cinderella school they wanted you to think about. We weren't giving more teams a shot to be included. Nope, we were giving teams like Miami this year and Ohio State last year who had 2 bad losses and just get hot at the right time. They get a shot instead, and I hate it. Anyways, as for Ole Miss, man, you guys fought like crazy, and again, it felt like a miracle that the game was even close because it felt like a blowout the whole time. Miami felt like they were able to force their will on Ole Miss the whole time. It was embarrassing, pathetic, and gross. And somehow Ole Miss didn't turn the ball over despite several very close calls. Chambliss kept trying to play hero ball and didn't really get punished for it, although I think it cost Ole Miss a few drives. The field goal kicker went crazy, although that one miss ended up being the difference. Kawan Lacey was out for an injury for most of the game, which forced Ole Miss to be pretty one-dimensional for a large part of this game. And I think if he did play the whole game, we'd probably see a different end result. I think the coaching inexperience was very evident in this game. There were some pretty awful play calling mistakes in this game. Chambliss had a great night for the the most part, outside of him avoiding checkdowns at all costs. It was a great game, but man, I cannot help but feel like Georgia would have wiped the floor with Miami because they would have. But, maybe they wouldn't have, because the SEC has been pretty dreadful this season, both in the regular season and the postseason. So, I don't know. I just hate that Miami's one way away from a Mickey Mouse title run, and I hope Indiana can lay the boom on them and expose them for the frauds that they are. I say Mickey Mouse. I'm obviously being a little facetious here. They had a pretty hard path to get here, but still, I just think it's a little bit fraudulent in the way that the teams they played ended up looking at the end of the season. I don't think that the teams were as difficult as it seemed like they were going to be. But that's really my piece on it. Mario Cristobal and Carson Beck have no business making a title run, and Miami fans do not deserve to be in the spot that they're in, unfortunately. But hey, thankfully, we probably don't have to worry about a Miami national title run, because they have to go against an Indiana team that looks like the best team in college football. Probably one of the best teams in college football I've seen in years, honestly. I'm serious. Curt Cignetti is rebuilding Indiana like it's college football 26. I just watched them completely pant and dismantle Oregon like they were a high school football team. I keep telling y'all, Indiana is the best coached team in the country, and they just keep proving it on the field. It does not matter that their talent roster does not match up on paper, because the games aren't played on paper. And when you line up against Indiana, you're going to have to earn every single point and every single yard that you get. You are not going to beat Indiana through penalties or turnovers. Oregon found that out firsthand. Indiana forced Oregon to play their worst football of the season, just like they have been doing to pretty much every other team they play. I picked Indiana to win this game. I told y'all in the playoffs that Indiana would win it all, but even I did not think it was going to be this dominant. Oregon's inexperience showed up in this game, and Indiana looked like killers, man. They played with experience. They played with discipline. And, I mean, the game really felt over in the first quarter. Indiana got a pick six in the first 11 seconds of the game, and that was just one of the many Oregon mistakes Indiana was able to capitalize on. And when they were forced to drive the full field, they took care of business there too. Fernando Mendoza played just as perfect as usual. The run game was efficient. Surratt was making incredible catches, and their line of scrimmage was dominant. Everyone did their job. They walked away with a blowout win, and I'm still not convinced that Cignetti was satisfied at the end of the game. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Coach Sig is the best coach in the country. And again, that's coming from a Georgia fan. So good for the Hoosiers. I'm now counting on them to win it all and take Miami out. Please. So that's all for this video. Stay tuned to the next video where I break down my prediction for the national title game. Peace.